Dilly dilly.
Booker the drive, gets inside, leads in, knocked away and stolen by Holiday. Phoenix has to foul, and a foul, throws it down, and a foul. Working against Butler, got downhill, couldn't punch it, Bam says get it out of here. Adebayo, sky high with the block and rejection. That's why he's NBA All-Defensive Team. To Caldwell Pope inside, he's tied up by Green. Throws it back up top, James puts up the three. Oh, it's gone! LeBron James from downtown as the shot clock expires.
Gets it into Durant. Here is Durant moving on Tucker. He turns, he shoots.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Deep from Three, presented by The Athletes Hub. Make sure you're checking out all of our content at theathleteshub.org. You might be joining us directly after a great episode. I got to catch a big chunk of it from Free Baseball over there with Davis and Jake. And I know Isaiah had to miss that show. He's probably been prepping. Isaiah, Gary, how you guys feel about today?
Very good. Isaiah's about to go down. I mean, I didn't want to say that at the start. I've been doing I've got a very good scouting team right now, looking at all my players, looking at people to draft. We are doing the NBA draft today. So for the All-Stars, starters and reserves, because we're going to simulate becoming Kevin Durant and LeBron James, because although I am 6 foot, I have to have about 8-10 inches to get to the other side. How you feeling, Isaiah?
I feel good, and I have it on good authority that LeBron James and Kevin Durant are actually watching this show because they want to get my strategy, not yours, my strategy to see what's a proper way to draft a team, even when the other guy is not quite, the team's not quite as good as yours. It is what it is.
LeBron has some experience with that. He's 4-0 since becoming the captain of the All-Star team. So, I'd shake your hand, but we are over the internet and you are about 2,000 miles away. So, metaphorical shake of the hand. I hope you have a good time today. And, don't try to overcompensate for something. I got you. Don't worry.
It's all good. Yeah. We'll just see what happens. And then you're lucky we don't have the NBA 2K thing going, because, man, I would love to settle this. But We'll get to it. Let me not go WWE on you with a promo. Let's just move on.
Yeah, so listen, fellas, this is episode number 11, and for me, this is the most anticipated episode in my opinion, because like Gary mentioned, this is the NBA All-Star Draft before the official NBA All-Star Draft, in which Team LeBron and Team Kevin Durant will be chosen. I'll be moderating as basically Ernie Johnson, I guess, is my role of the day. And then we got Team Gary versus Team Isaiah. And then I think what we're going to do, I hadn't mentioned this before, but maybe we put both lists on social media. We let the people decide which team they like better. So a lot at stake here, a lot of bragging rights. In case you guys have not previously watched any of the NBA All-Star drafts, the rules are very, very basic. We do not have a fan vote, so therefore there's no logical way to pick who gets the number one pick aside from, you guessed it, the flip of a coin, heads or tails. From there, the individual that wins the coin toss will pick first among the starting players. And if you have been keeping up with the news in the NBA lately, Kevin Durant obviously will not be playing, taking his place. According to reports, it's not official yet. We're going to assume that Jason Tatum is going to take his spot. So we've moved Jason Tatum up from the reserves to the starters. We have also put in DeJounte Murray. We've also put in LaMelo Ball as available picks from the reserves as well. If you lose that initial coin flip, don't worry. You get the first picks among the reserve players. And this is not going to be serpentine. It's going to be a fixed draft. So therefore, if Gary were to win, he would have picks 1, 3, 5, so on and so forth. Isaiah would have 2, 4, 6, so on and so forth. Fellas, how are we feeling? We feel ready to get this thing started?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely ready. Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So listen, you guys can decide between amongst yourselves who wants to call this coin flip right here.
Go for it,
Gary. You gotta get it to Gary. Gary's been the man.
Okay.
The graphics and everything. He earns that.
All right. Gary,
Hey,
he's giving it to you. A lot of pressure right here. All right.
You know, let's just hope I don't end up like the Chiefs. I'm gonna go heads.
All right, we're going heads. It is. I don't know if you can see this. It's tails.
Damn.
Okay. Tails. So Isaiah is going to have the first pick among the starters. You can choose LeBron James. There's also a great field just to run through. There's Giannis, Steph Curry, DeMar DeRozan, Joel Embiid, LeBron, like I mentioned, Nikola Jokic, John Morant, Jason Tatum, who we mentioned is now in the starters rotation, Andrew Wiggins, who we talked about last week. I don't know if Isaiah is going to take him number 1 or not. And then we also have Trae Young rounding out the starters. So, Isaiah, whenever you're ready, give us your first pick and why you were selecting that individual.
I kind of wanted Gary to win the coin toss because I didn't really want to take this guy because he's such an obvious pick and there's a lot more exciting picks on here. But I got to go with LeBron James. Of course, he's 4-0 in these things. Do I really got to say much about LeBron? Even in his later years, he's every time I look at the box score, he's scoring 30, darn near triple doubles. He's looking. I mean, his team's not looking like it, but LeBron for his individual stats, and he still does, you know, he adds to a team just about as much as anybody. I didn't really want to go, but you got to go with LeBron with the first point. So we're going with LeBron James.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron, a great pick. I can't say I'm too surprised. Gary, are you surprised by that pick at all?
I mean, no, it's LeBron James. I feel like at this point, if you don't pick LeBron James, people are going to look back and go, why didn't he pick LeBron first? I mean, the 4-0 speaks for itself. LeBron is, you know, top 5, depending on who you ask, top 2, top 1 player of all time. And, you know, even with his 18th All-Star appearance, he gets the fan vote. I believe he led in the NBA this season too. So you've got a guy who is, you know, there's no wrong answer for who you're going to pick first, unless, you know, you pick he who shall not be named. Yeah, I didn't want to go that far, but yeah, LeBron James, solid pick. I mean, number 1 guy you would choose in any draft like this.
Yeah, and what's great about LeBron, you basically get LeBron at any position, right? So I should have mentioned this before, but you can draft your team however you like. I'm not going to tell you to go out and draft 5 different guards, but if that's what you choose to do, that's what you choose to do. But LeBron James, you can play him pretty much anywhere from the 1 through 5. So really solid first pick by Isaiah. He starts us off with LeBron James at the first overall pick. That brings us now to Gary. Gary, you know, you couldn't get LeBron, but who's the next man up for you?
Well, just like just like every great team needs, we're going to need somebody who can dunk the ball, especially in the All-Star game. That is the goal, is really just to hype up the crowd, get these uber athletic freaks to, you know, make spectacular plays for the fans. And that's why you got to go with Giannis Antetokounmpo. 29 a game, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 2-time MVP, former defensive player of the year. And honestly, if the voter fatigue wasn't there and the Bucks were a little bit better, Giannis has a case to have his 3rd MVP season this year just on numbers alone, defensive impact. And come on, it's the All-Star game. I want to see somebody dunk from the free throw line. And if there's anybody in the NBA that can do that right now, it's Giannis. And then one other guy that we are going to mention a little bit later when we pick starters that I hope to be getting. You know, I've got a little plan worked out if I do end up getting him, but I'm going to pair you. I'm going to get Giannis right now and hopefully pair him with a guy in the future to get my team of expected dunk champions to be an incredible team I'm working towards right now. Sorry, Isaiah, but I got to make my speech. I got to go with Giannis.
And Giannis, a great pick. I feel like if you don't take Giannis there and Isaiah gets the opportunity to take Giannis with the 3rd overall pick and pair Giannis and LeBron, it might be over pretty early for Gary. So I think that's a great pick. Isaiah, what do you make of that? Did you want Giannis to fall to you?
I did, and to be honest, just because like taking into account his age, I was like, I wouldn't have been so mad if he took LeBron first, because Giannis was definitely the next one. And I was hoping there would be an oversight or maybe like intimidation to pronounce his name, so you would have gone somewhere else, and I would have drafted him. So
I've been on it.
what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, no, that's a great pick, and so that marks out the first very short round. But I'm happy we got LeBron and we got Giannis. So far, no reaches. I feel like both very safe picks, and that brings us now back to Isaiah. And I mean, you could go in a couple directions here. You could go guard. You could go Steph Curry. You could go with another big. You could go with Embiid or Jokic is out there. What's sort of your thought process right here, Isaiah?
Yeah, I'm looking at, because the All-Star also is about like kind of like dream lineups, right? Because you want to just see how certain individuals will play with each other. Like I was so fun like watching Team USA when it was Kobe and LeBron on the same team, because I just wanted to see how they would function together. We never really got that. They never played an All-Star. Obviously, it was East versus West. Imagine if we had a draft pool like this, even though they probably would have been voting against each other every year. So I'm going with a similar scenario here. This is actually something last week me and Gary spoke about after the cameras were off, and I said I would want to see LeBron next to Steph Curry, like how unstoppable this duo would be. You got LeBron driving, you got Steph spacing the floor. Like I don't know who has more impact on the team. I just know that that's going to be like an unstoppable duo, and in this case it is unstoppable duo just because the team around them is going to be better, and obviously they speak for themselves as well. And do I really got to say anything about Steph Curry? I mean, he started to kind of take a tumble after breaking the 3-point record. I did have him as one of my MVP choices early on in the year. It's probably over for that, but still Steph Curry, I'm no shame, and I feel happy with that pick.
Yeah, once again, that's probably the route I would have taken right there. You get Steph Curry, pair him along LeBron James. Gary, when you're talking about a fan vote at the end of this, you get two of the most popular players in Steph Curry and LeBron James. Sort of talk me through how you're going to combat that, because that's two great passers. Steph Curry, the greatest shooter in the history of the league. Who among this starting pool do you take just to counter what Isaiah has put out there in the early rounds?
Well, I don't know if counter would be the thing that I'm looking for right here, because I'm looking at this list and I see that I think he's this the Isaiah just took the two oldest players in the starting lineup, and so I'm looking at this. This is a young man's game. I'm trying to score as many points as I can. I'm trying to get out there and I'm trying to, excite the fans. Get a guy who's going to do the behind the back passes, rope around, shimmy shots from the post. And I can't see anybody else. He doesn't have a big man right now. And unless he picks somebody else, I got to go with Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic, a guy, 26 points, 14 rebounds. He's not the high flyer that a lot of people want in this All-Star game, but 7.5 assists a game. Giannis cutting to the basket. I mean, you talk about dream lineups. Jokic passing to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Goodness. That's just absolutely absurd. I mean, I can see it right now. He's posting up on the left block. He throws it behind his head. Giannis, big old arm, smacks it down right in front of LeBron's face, who probably plays like 10 minutes this game, let's be honest. He's going to get the Jimmy Butler treatment, which I do have down in my notes. The last time Jimmy Butler played significant minutes in an All-Star game, he got a DN. Well, I believe it was Spoelstra or Tibbs was his coach. I can't remember at the time. Jimmy Butler has played in this NBA All-Star game and got a DNP coach's decision. So, I'm trying to stay away from the old Bucks on this team. I'm going with Jokic, and I'm proud of that. I'm happy with that pick.
Yeah, that's some serious size right there, Isaiah. And you saw the little dig that Gary gave you. You got a couple older guys on your team. What do you make of that?
I mean, I thought he was going to go the route that I'm going to go with next. I mean, you talk about a big man. I don't even think Jokic is the best big man in that starting voting lineup. I mean, if we're taking into account health and their overall, like if I was starting a season, I might want Jokic because I could probably depend on him a little more than who I have to take now. But I think this guy is definitely the more well-rounded player. He's in the midst of an MVP season if he stays healthy. You talk about a guy that's maybe missing one piece to win, maybe possibly contend for NBA Finals. That's what a lot of people like to talk about with James Harden. I don't even think Jokic with a full healthy squad is ready to win a championship, though I will say they're very ready to contend. I'm going with, of course, Joel Embiid. I have to. That wasn't my next choice. This is Gary like forcing me to take a big man here. But I'm not mad about it. LeBron, Steph Curry, Embiid. I mean, again, there's no real wrong lineup here. But they can all shoot. They could all drive. Well, actually, yeah, Steph Curry can drive. He's not going to dunk it, but he can get past anybody. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to be running under your tall trees that you got set up for us, and we're going to spread the floor. We're going to be just fine. So, and we'll get Embiid will get Jokic out of the paint anyway. So it is what it is.
It's an interesting matchup too, because now you're probably getting Jokic on Embiid to start the game. You're probably going to end up getting a couple of Giannis versus LeBron matches, depending on where LeBron's going to play on the floor. So Gary, you see this from Isaiah. He starts off with a guard in Steph Curry. He goes with a forward in LeBron. He goes with a big man in Joel Embiid. Right now, you got your big man in Giannis. You got your center in Jokic. Is it time to take a guard, or are you looking somewhere else right now?
Ladies and gentlemen, I guess gentlemen, I don't know, shout out to the ladies who listen, but ladies and gentlemen, there is a man that I have been in love with this whole season.
Is it Andrew Wiggins?
It is a man who has been on a tear leading his team this year. They're the 3rd seed in the Western Conference at the moment, I believe. Don't fact check that. I didn't look. He's averaging 25 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. And to be honest, I don't see how you can pick a better guard to pair with these guys than Ja Morant. I got the shirt on. I don't know if you can see, but I got Ja on a shirt. I was waiting for this moment. I got somebody to guard Steph Curry. I got a guy who's an absolute menace when it comes to just ball pressure, bringing the ball up the court, driving in, finding his guys. And I'm going to be honest, I don't see a Steph Curry in his 32 years old, 33 years old, being able to keep up with the one-time All-Star Ja Morant, just in terms of they're not playing any defense in this game. I'm not even worried that Ja Morant ain't that good of a defender. I'm trying to get buckets. I'm trying to get dunks. I'm trying to get flashy passes, and Ja brings that with my lineup of Jokic and Giannis. I'm ready for this.
Yeah, so just to recap, these first 3 rounds, Isaiah goes with LeBron, Steph Curry, and Joel Embiid. Gary, through the first 3 rounds, gets Giannis, Nikola Jokic, and Ja Morant. Those are both very, very deep teams. We still have 4 players available. We've got DeMar DeRozan. We've got Jason Tatum moved up. We've got Andrew Wiggins, who's still out there. And we also have Trae Young. So, Isaiah, you got a nice variety of players. We see right now we've got a nice pool of talent out there in the starting group. So what direction are you planning on going in right here?
So, again, back to the dream lineups and seeing how these guys would work with each other. I mean, I got to say, he has a lot of guys that could get to the hoop, but what is he going to do when I take the top 2 3-point shooters off of the board and you don't really have anybody that can rain it down from deep like these 2 guys? Of course, I got Steph Curry already. I'm pairing him with Trae Young, his protege, his counterpart, even though there's times where he's inconsistent, even though there's saltiness for what he did to my Knicks. I'm going with Ice Trae, and I think that damages your outside shooting a bit moving forward. I mean, you got guys that could drive, but my guys could drive too, and we got we got the 2 best 3-point shooters in this draft.
Yeah, so Gary, he makes a good point though, right? Because he's got 3-point shooting definitely on his side right now. Granted, there's a lot of reserve picks out there, and you get the opportunity now to pick another player. And granted, if you're taking DeRozan or Tatum here, which I would assume based on your Andrew Wiggins slander from the last episode, they're probably going to end up being one of your best 3-point shooters in the starting lineup, right?
I mean, you're not wrong. However, I'm about to do the turn of the century when he's on my team. So, I know how these drafts work out. I know who I'm getting at the end here. We don't have to, we don't got to talk about it. I know Isaiah hated getting that first pick, but when he sees who I'm stuck with at the end, he's going to be giggling all the way to the Madison Square Garden. All right. So my 4th pick, my 4th pick, correct? Yeah, my 4th pick.
Yep.
For this draft, I got to go with a guy, although his team is not my favorite. I cannot deny how amazing this guy is. Not shooting the most efficient this year, but it is also partly to do the fact that he's the only real offensive option on his team aside from his star shooting guard counterpart, and that guy is Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum this year, 26-8-4. It'll be his third All-Star game, and yeah, I mean, best shooter on my team right now, other than Jokic, but Jokic isn't really taking as many threes a game as Tatum is, even though he can hit some from down there. He's actually got good percentages. Jason Tatum's the guy who's going to be dribbling the ball, creating that bounce off the floor, making some tough shots for my team when he's got LeBron draped in his face, trying to, agitate him a little bit. And I also get a good defender who can, in times, in bursts, kind of move around the floor a little bit, give some difficulty to the bigger guys that are on Isaiah's team. And I like my pick of Jason Tatum. Yeah, that's all I have to say. He was a replacement for Kevin Durant this year. That's obviously why Kevin Durant wasn't picked 1 or 2 in this scenario, because I think both of us would have probably picked him first. That's who I would have picked first if he was available. So his replacement, Jason Tatum, is basically just KD light, especially in the All-Star game, given the green light to shoot whenever he wants. I'm going with JT.
And that brings us back around to Isaiah now, who gets the option between DeMar DeRozan or Andrew Wiggins. And remember, Isaiah, whoever you don't take right here is automatically on Gary's team. It will round out the starting 5 of your guys' hypothetical NBA All-Star team. So what are your thoughts right here?
I mean, you talk about a tough choice right here. I mean, to be honest,
And just so you know, Isaiah, before you even say anything, I have my notes on the side right here. I've already plugged in DeMar DeRozan into your team, but go ahead.
Yeah. I need to build it up a little bit. There's gonna be some excitement here because this is a very tough selection to make. I mean, Gary made the choice for me. I totally understand taking Jason Tatum, but I'm happy he did because DeMar DeRozan is in the midst of one of the best. Probably his best season in his career, and the Bulls are sitting at the top of the Eastern Conference still, right? And he is one of the driving forces for that. So now not only do I have 2 of the best 3-point shooters, I have probably the best mid-range shooter in the league, and then I got 2 guys that could drive to the basket and dominate in the paint, LeBron and Embiid, and they can also shoot a little bit as well. So I'm feeling really good. Of course, I'm going with DeMar DeRozan. You're welcome, Gary, for Andrew Wiggins. I mean, that's a very, that makes me worry a little bit about my squad, but other than that, I feel pretty good.
Hey, before you say anything, you did get Trae Young and Steph Curry, but you know who's got the highest 3-point percentage on this team right now?
3-point percentage.
Andrew Wiggins is leading the Warriors in 3-point percentage this year, beating Steph Curry. Obviously, I'm not just trying to spin this for myself because obviously I'm screwed here. But, I got to make, I'm trying to get my PR up for my fans. We're looking at this from a neutral perspective. No hate here. Andrew Wiggins, great dunker. Good defender. He's going to play the 2 on my team. So I got Ja, I got Wiggins, I got JT, Giannis, Jokic. I mean, I just don't see us not scoring the ball, even if we only got one really, really good 3-point shooter on our team. And Andrew Wiggins.
So
I hate to disrespect the man. He's a grown man. I'm not gonna call him terrible too much. I don't think he deserves be the starter in the East or starter on these teams, but I mean he's having a good season for Andrew Wiggins and for the Warriors. So I try to be at least a little bit positive instead of just absolutely crapping on him.
I'm going to need you before next episode to clip one segment of Gary listing out the worst All-Stars of all time. And then right here saying we need to be a little bit positive and that he likes Andrew Wiggins. I need the side by side. That's what I need.
We got it.
Hey,
we got it.
I'm like Stephen A. Give me a take. I'll run with it. I don't care if I contradict myself.
All right.
I think Wiggins was a starter, man, for more than one reason, because he deserves to be in the All-Star game. I think we agree.
Sure,
but it's just with him being in the start, it's just impossible not to
I remember listening to a bunch of podcasts around the time when people were giving out their reserves for it, and Wiggins was essentially penciled in essentially as that 12th guy, probably the last pick, deserves it, but not like a lock as in what other players were. And the fact that he started is just kind of funny. He deserves to be an all-star, but it is a little, we're going to look back and we're going to be like, all right, John Morant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins. Okay, sure.
Wiggins.
Wiggins.
And so just to recap on what we have between the starters for each group, right? So I'm just going to go from point guard probably to center on what it looks like just on paper. So Isaiah, you're probably playing the guard combo as Steph and Trae Young, and then you get LeBron probably at your you're probably getting DeMar DeRozan at your 3, LeBron at your 4, and Joel Embiid at your 5. And then Gary over there has John Morant probably playing at the 1. And then however you want to split it, you probably have Andrew Wiggins playing the 2, Jason Tatum on the 3, Giannis at the 4, and Jokic at the 5 as we move into the reserves. And like I said, whoever lost the initial coin flip gets the first pick among the reserves. Gary, I know you're ready. So whenever you have a moment, go ahead and tell us who is the number 1 pick among these reserves.
I'll be honest, when at the beginning of this season, if you told me this guy wasn't starting the All-Star game, I would have looked at you a little bit sideways just from the ascension that he's had since his rookie year playing for Dallas. I got to go with Luka Doncic. He is 26, 9-9, just absolutely a joy to watch on offense. And that's what this All-Star game is all about. I need a guy off my bench who can create for all my other players. I need a guy who is not afraid to just chuck up shots, trying to go crazy from the logo kind of guy. Luka's that. He's going to give the fans what they want. And honestly, after not being picked as a starter in this draft, or in All-Star in general, I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a little something up his sleeve trying to prove himself. So, look for Luka taking about 50 shots this game coming off the bench, because, I mean, why not? I'm going with Luka.
I think that's a really solid pick. This is a really talented reserve class. In case you're just watching, and I forgot to mention this before, so the reserves were Luka. Aside from him, you had LaMelo Ball, who just got called up. You have Devin Booker, Jimmy Butler, Darius Garland, Rudy Gobert, James Harden, Zach Levine, Chris Middleton, Donovan Mitchell, DeJounte Murray also just called up. You also have Chris Paul, Karl Anthony Towns, and Fred VanVleet, which brings us back around to Isaiah. Isaiah, what's your thought process going into this? Who do you want among all of the reserves right here?
I wanted Luka. I'll be honest.
Okay.
The guy I'm going to go with is the guy that I thought Gary was going to go with. If it was results based, I probably wouldn't go with this guy. But I think he's the best player remaining in this list here for sure. Got to go with James Harden. I'm not going to not take James Harden with that pick. Again, all around guy. You see what he's. I mean, the Nets are struggling right now, right? As of right now, the past week or so in terms of games. But I got to go with James Harden, man. He could do everything. He could pass. He could shoot. And if I didn't take him and you took him next, I would be kicking myself. So I'm taking James Harden.
Yeah. So
sure.
Yeah, Gary, if he doesn't take James Harden right there, is that your next pick, or did you have your eyes on someone else?
Oh, I had my eyes on someone else. I'm gonna be honest. Okay. I love James Harden. He was probably 3rd or 4th for my reserves. I mean, I wouldn't have let it go again. Like, I wouldn't have let Isaiah pick again, and then, I would have. If I'm picking the guy now, I would have picked James Harden next. But the guy that I'm going with right now, number 1 seed in the West, just can light up the floor any night, putting up incredible numbers. We talked about it last week when we just discussed All-Stars, and I brought him up as a topic, but I got to go with Devin Booker. He's scoring like crazy this year, 25, 5, and 4. Doesn't get enough love when it comes to best shooting guards in the league. I know James Harden and him and a couple of other guys are in that conversation, but I got to go with Devin Booker, somebody that I can put next to Luka, who's not only capable of dribbling, getting the ball and making his own shot, but can also spot up for those kickouts that we love to see from Luka. So I got to go with Devin Booker to round out with Luka Doncic, my point guard and shooting guard for this year.
Yeah, some flashy players. Gary's targeting early out in the Western Conference with Luka and Devin Booker. So now with Isaiah, he initially took James Harden. So how do you follow that up? Who are you looking at right here?
This one might be more of a personal shot. At my opponent.
Oh, you're gonna do
it.
Yeah, I saw this happening.
There's a couple of guys like I'm tempted. See, I think the reserves is a lot harder to draft than the starters.
It is.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, you got so many guys there. You really like. If you take one guy, you miss out on another. But I'm gonna hit him where it hurts a little bit. I want some grittiness on my team because you got Steph Curry, Trey, but I want a guy with DeMar DeRozan, like that kind of gritty type of player. Also, possibly an MVP candidate. I'm going with Jimmy Buckets Butler, aka the guy that's kind of raising RJ Barrett into being who he is. So I had to get him in there.
How do you do it every single week? We talk about RJ Barrett. We talk about RJ Barrett more than we talk about Steph Curry. Sometimes it feels like.
You say that like that's a bad thing, man. So yeah, I'm going Jimmy Butler. I got enough 3-point shooting. I got enough, but I want some grittiness, and I want Jimmy Butler. I mean, I know it's the All-Star game, but he just strikes me as one of those guys that's just going to go out there and do what he has to do regardless, and he wants to win. And I'm going with Jimmy Butler. That's it.
I mean, in our scenario, these players are playing 100%, 48 minutes. Like, we're going crazy. Yeah, right. my All-Stars, I like to think I'm a good coach. I'm not letting them sit out. Come on. Or am I a GM in this scenario? I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, and this is a great first couple of picks. I love both of your teams. I have the same logical reasoning for both, which then brings us back around to Gary. There's a lot of good guards still out there, and I know you definitely could use some forwards as well. You still have Cat out there. You still have Gobert down low. But, man, those guards look really good right now. Garland is having a great year. You still got Levine, you got Ball, you got VanVleet, Chris Paul. So Gary, what are you thinking right here?
So in my previous picks, I have chosen players who are great athletes, incredible dunkers, and just people who are going to light it up when it comes to, they're going to be Twitter compilations of all the dunks at the end of the night. And a guy that I want to join in that Twitter compilation is none other than DeMar DeRozan's teammate, Zach Levine, 25-5-4, just an absolutely insane season this year. Had a couple of years where was he in bad stats or good stats, bad team guy? Is he going to be, in the Kevin Love school of thought where he doesn't get his opportunity to be on a successful team unless he goes somewhere and sacrifices a role? But no, Zach Levine this season has absolutely killed it for the Bulls. We've talked enough about the Bulls in this podcast. I know we all three of us basically just collectively bought DeMar DeRozan NFTs at the beginning of the season. But I'm going to go with Zach Levine for my pick here. A guy who can dunk, a guy who can catch lobs, and I'm looking to dominate the Twitter highlights zone of this fake NBA All-Star draft because I'm all about the views, baby. Let's get Zach Levine on this team.
And I told you last episode, I said I thought Zach Levine had the numbers and I thought he had the talent, at least from this year, to be named an All-Star starter. Obviously, the pool of talent is so deep in both conferences that it's a little bit difficult to fit him in there. But once again, a great pick, which then brings us down to Isaiah. Isaiah, was Zach Levine someone you had on your mind there?
Yeah, I was looking to break up the whole dunking identity of his squad.
Nope.
But, at the end of the day, we're not drafting a dunk contest lineup. We're drafting NBA players, and we want to win a game. Have you
seen the All-Star game? It might as well just be a dunk contest.
You have a point. But if you're going to just reign from the logo, you may as well just do that, though that doesn't really concur with my next pick. One thing that I'm noticing that he has, especially in the starting lineup, Gary has the size on me. But I also don't want to go away from my team's identity as well. I want a guy that can shoot. I want a guy that he's just one of the funnest people to root for in the league. I mean, I don't know if him and Butler still have any, if there's any animosity there. I know he and Embiid got into a fight, but I'm going with Karl Anthony Towns.
Oh, man, you took him. That was my next pick.
Unapologetic. Oh, and I love that. That feels good. But so
I'm going to do McDonald's.
Again, do I gotta say much about Cat? Probably one of the most skilled big men in the NBA. Give it time. I think next year he may be a starter, and this will be Karl Anthony Towns. He's talking about a guy too that's been through a lot the past couple of years, and the fact that he's been able to perform as he has, Going with Cat.
Yeah, and that's a great way to add some size right there, a little bit of an equalizer, which really only leaves us with one true big down low, which is Rudy Gobert. I'm interested to see where he goes in this draft, which brings us back around to Gary. Gary, there's still a couple of forwards out there. There's a whole lot of point guards in this field, it feels like. What does your team need, and what direction are you looking in?
So I'm going to test Isaiah here, and I'm going to go with somebody who, might throw him for a loop here. I hope he's got his big boy pants on, because today I'm not going to take Rudy Gobert. I'm going to take his teammate, Donovan Mitchell, because I'm going to be real honest.
Yeah.
You went with Cat. Like, of course, the natural selection would be to go with another big guy, but I'm going to go all in on this guard lineup. I've got so many guards at this point. I'm looking at it. Maybe I made a mistake here, but Donovan Mitchell, 25, 5-4. But am I really going to count on Rudy Gobert doing anything for me in an all-star game? I'm not. I mean, he might be the only player playing defense on these teams, but who knows? Maybe he doesn't want to go with the two big lineup, and I can get him in another thing. So I'm going to test the waters here. Go with Donovan Mitchell. Still a great pick. I mean, I'm not doubting Donovan Mitchell. Him and Rudy Gobert's relationship hasn't been great. So maybe it is best to get them on different teams for their vacation. But, let's go. I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell here.
Okay, Donovan Mitchell. And just to be clear, I said you could draft the team any way you wanted. Yeah. Gary took it quite literally. His reserve picks so far: Luka Doncic, a guard; Devin Booker, a guard; Zach Levine technically plays guard; Donovan Mitchell, also guard.
It's a guard-heavy league.
Yeah, it's a very guard-heavy league, and even with all of those picks, among the guards still available, LaMelo Ball, Darius Garland, DeJounte Murray, Chris Paul, and Fred VanVleet. So chances are Gary is not going to be done drafting guards among these reserves, which now brings us all the way back around to Isaiah. Isaiah, he leaves up Rudy Gobert there for you to just take advantage of the size. Do you go with him, or do you go with a bit more of an appealing option to add to your all-star lineup?
I know there's Andrew Wiggins on the other side, but there's no Jared Vanderbilt, as Patrick Beverly put it. So I'm not gonna go with Rudy Gobert. I'm gonna go ahead and mess up his plan of having all guards, and I'm gonna go with the one that if we did an all-time ranking, he'd be probably the highest, definitely the highest out of everybody left, but arguably the highest out of everybody on this list. I'm going with the point guard, Chris Paul. Do I have to say much about him? I got all these guys that could score, shoot threes. I need a guy that could come in and just put it all together. And that, of course, is going to be Chris Paul, the purest point guard, and even in his age. And yeah, my team's a little bit old, but you know what? I want guys that could win. You could dominate the highlights, but I want the W at the end of the day, so I'm going with Chris Paul.
Chris Paul, and an interesting choice. When LeBron James does this draft later in a couple of days, Chris Paul's flying off the board nice and early among the reserves with his banana boat friends. Now we've got Gary. And Gary, there's only a handful of players left: LaMelo Ball, Darius Garland, Rudy Gobert, Chris Middleton, DeJounte Murray, and Fred VanVleet. So what does that mean for your next pick?
Well, it means that I think I did what I planned to do, grab a guy who I thought was going to be taken pretty quickly in Donovan Mitchell, and I still get to keep his teammate, Rudy Gobert, who I'm going to be selecting. I need defense. I need a center, and unfortunately, Jared Allen didn't get chosen as a replacement for Kevin Durant. They chose LaMelo Ball instead, which, LaMelo Ball, still a deserving all-star, 27-7. But 20 points, 7 not, you know what I mean? I wasn't saying he scored 27 a game. But I'm going to go with Rudy Gobert, who in his own right is, I believe, a 4-time defensive player of the year, 16 points, 15 rebounds, 2 blocks a game. It'll be his third all-star game. And while he doesn't bring the level of excitement that my other players bring, I need a guy who can set some screens. I need a guy who can get the rebound. And I need a guy who is actually going to play some defense. I love watching Rudy Gobert in the All-Star game actually trying to contest shots. It's weird. You watch the game. Everyone else it's like the Pro Bowl. Everyone else is playing two-hand touch, and then Sean Taylor's out there just absolutely dominating, spearing people in the middle of the field. I'm going to go with Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, 5-time all defensive player Rudy Gobert, definitely gives Gary the size that he desperately needed. I feel like among these reserve players, I thought it's a great pick. Isaiah, what do you make of all of that? He pulled a little loop-de-loop on you right there, taking back-to-back Jazz players, and then he sort of tried to trap you into taking Rudy Gobert. You passed, and all of a sudden he grabs him.
Yeah, we're not going to fall for that because, if he did draft a big, I would have drafted my team the same way that it's drafted. I probably would have taken Mitchell, absolutely would have taken him next, no question about it. So that was a good pick there. But I'm still quite confident. I feel like my guys are just more ready. I got my bigs. I feel like they're more skilled. And, at the end of the day, what's Gobert going to do with Cat out there shooting from, in the corner and with Embiid like that? Nobody really needs to rely and be in the paint. So I'm still quite confident. I mean, if Gobert wants to go out there and try to start shooting some threes, then maybe we'll have a problem. But I feel okay.
I might have a problem if that happens. Don't worry. I think you'll be quite fine. I think it'll be my issue. Bench him right there, Eric Spoelstra. Which, by the way, I'm claiming Eric Spoelstra for my team. So, have fun with Monty Williams. But, I can't let my guy Spo down. So I need some defense. Spo, that's all it's Spo's about.
I'm going with the goated Frank Vogel for my. No, I'm joking.
Oh, God.
No, you won't be. I veto that. Which now brings us as we bridge into the 20th overall pick of this NBA All-Star Draft. Isaiah, there's a whole lot of guards, and then there's Chris Middleton. So how do you feel right now among these 5 players?
I feel really good, and I'm going to admittedly, I might be making a little bit of a reach here, but I just want to snatch this guy up before Gary does. This is one guy like Chris Paul. I feel like he could just gel with these guys, and I feel like he will also learn a lot from being in this type of team with these veterans. And, my team is a bit older in some respects, so let's get the youngest guy in this draft. I'm going with LaMelo Ball, who I feel like probably should have been named to the original All-Star team. So, I'm going with LaMelo. Probably a reach, but I really like how he's next to those guys. So
that's a good pick, man. I'm going to be honest. That hurt a little bit. I was hoping to, root for my boy LaMelo Ball.
I'm surprised he fell that far. I mean, when you're talking about just All-Star and you're talking about putting viewers up there and you're talking about popularity, LaMelo Ball, man. I mean, how much more hype does it get than that, man?
It might have been a misstep.
4-point range. Yeah.
Might have been a misstep on my part. I should have definitely taken him.
Yep.
And I got to talk to my scouts about that one. That shouldn't have slipped past that far.
And now, Gary, you get 4 options, really. So we got Darius Garland, Chris Middleton, DeJounte Murray, and Fred VanVleet. LaMelo Ball just flew off the board. He just got called up to the reserves. DeJounte Murray is the other one of those players to be called up to the reserves. What is your thought process here? Are you going with another guard? Are you going with Middleton?
Here's my thought process. I'll be honest, Dev. I've been looking at Draymond Green's name for like 10 minutes, now just realizing that he is not. I was like, oh, dude, easy pick, Draymond, and then I went, hold on just a second. He's not playing. Damn. Okay. So in that case, I gotta go with a shooter. I gotta go with a guy who can actually guard some of the better players on Isaiah's team. And when inevitably some of that bench starting lineup things start to gel, I need a guy who's going to be able to take some of the pressure off of my starters and guard those LeBrons and guard the guys that he has. So I got to go with Chris Middleton. He's averaging 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, not having his best season like he did a couple of years ago, shooting 50, 40, 90, but still a solid player. Probably the most surprising pick from the reserves. I consume a lot of NBA content. I did not see or hear Chris Middleton's name come up very much in pseudo, realistic all-star reserve picks before they were actually announced. But I don't hate the pick. 3-time all-star Chris Middleton, NBA champion. We got to remember that too. So yeah, Chris Middleton's my pick here.
I think it's a really solid pick. I think you definitely, like you said, and you get the opportunity to pair Middleton up with his teammate over there, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I like it. I like it for the imaginatory chemistry that your team is building right now.
True.
And Isaiah, you get the option between 3 players: Darius Garland, DeJounte Murray, and Fred VanVleet. Between those 3 players, who do you have your eye on?
I like Gary. I kind of forgot that DeJounte Murray was even an option at this point. But
I've been reading the list basically every single round. Not once have you heard me read Draymond Green's name.
It was my own fault. I did a lot of prep. He's here. I got a big bold letters on him. I have all these stats I didn't even read out too. So there you go.
Yeah, there's temptation to go there, but I'm looking at this guy right here who might be the source in officially ending the Lakers' hopes in the future. Because if this guy leaves to team with this guy, and he's already on my squad, maybe he wants to just get an idea of what it's like to team with this man. I'm going with the first-time All-Star, Darius Garland. I just like his skill set, and again, get a little bit of youth right there next to LaMelo and LeBron James, just to get a little feel of how they're going to work out together when LeBron goes back to Cleveland, if that happens. And I like it. And honestly, no matter where Gary goes next, I feel happy. So let me get the young guy, and we're going with Darius Garland. That's it. And the Cavs are fourth. Yeah.
And that brings us right back around to Gary, who gets the option between two players in the same way it worked last time. Gary, whoever you don't pick automatically lands on Isaiah's team. So you're basically picking the next two picks. You get either DeJounte Murray or you get Fred VanVleet, with the other going to Isaiah. So who's it going to be right here?
So, these are both guys who are pretty good defensive players. They're both above average, probably DeJounte Murray better than Fred VanVleet in defense specifically. But I have been looking at this for a while, and I've had this personal debate with myself. Would I rather get the younger star who's putting up some stats on a decent but bad team, or do I get the guy who's not really putting up like the most insane numbers, but his team is winning? He is a direct cause of that. He's shooting incredible. And I've got to go with the sixth man himself. And I say that because he's from Toronto, not that he comes off the bench. Fred VanVleet looks like Drake. Let's be honest. And I need a little flair in that regard. I need Fred VanVleet on my team to, be the guy that don't count out yourself, bet on yourself. Fred VanVleet got to be in there, got to get somebody that's actually going to pass the ball on this team, because Luka, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell. I did say Luka's a great passer, but the high chances those guys chuck up some shots. I need some Fred VanVleet orchestrating the bench on my offense. I'm going with him. I'm going with Freddie.
All right, so Fred VanVleet, a favorite among this group when it comes to daily sports bets. I know we've talked about him a handful of times, and he's almost always a hit. So I love the pick. I'm surprised he fell that low. Isaiah, talk to me a little bit about DeJounte Murray. Are you happy that he rounds out your team? I know we just got news that he got called up to the reserve. You get both of the reserve players on your team with LaMelo and Murray.
And it was breaking news to Gary and I, apparently. So, I'm fine with DeJounte Murray. Again, he's younger and he plays on the Spurs. So, he understands, like, he's not going to go in there to try to steal the show. I would have been happy with Fred VanVleet as well, though, because, like you said, that is the Thrive Fantasy GOAT this year. He's won me a lot of money, so I felt like I owed him. But, this is business. It's not personal. But, yes, I'm happy with DeJounte Murray. I think he fits in. I got a lot of guards as well, a lot of point guards. So a lot of guys that know what to do, and he's not going to go out there trying to steal the show. He'll let the other guys shine. So I'm happy with not only my team, but with Murray.
Yeah. And so as we get towards the end, we still got one more segment to go, but here's who we have so far. So for Team Isaiah, the starting five of LeBron, Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, Trae Young, and DeMar DeRozan is now accompanied by the reserves of James Harden, Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns, Chris Paul, LaMelo Ball, Darius Garland, and DeJounte Murray. And then we got Team Gary, who gets a starting five of Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, Ja Morant, Jason Tatum, and Andrew Wiggins. And that is now surrounded by the reserves of Luka Doncic, Devin Booker, Zach Levine, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Chris Middleton, and now Fred VanVleet. I mean, guys, those are two really, really solid teams, but it seems like we could use one extra touch on those teams. We talked about this before, and I held on to release it to the public until now in the suspenseful way that I could. We're going to give each of you guys a lucky 13th player, someone that wasn't elected to the All-Star game whatsoever. They need to be healthy, though. We're going to go ahead and give Isaiah that first pick, considering he won the initial coin toss and he picked second when it came to the reserves. So Isaiah, you get any player that's currently healthy that has not been elected into the All-Star game. Which player was snubbed and needs to be playing in this game on your team?
There's a couple of guys, of course. There's a couple of guys that I feel like I've been wrestling with this. Like I'm actually came up with the idea, but I'm like, wait, do I really want that? Because I don't know who to go with now. So there's a couple of options. I mean, I was tempted. Like if I was to cheese a little bit, I probably would have gone with Kyrie. But let's be honest, he's nowhere near deserving because obviously he hasn't played. I mean, if Damian Lillard was healthy, of course, that's an option. I would like to go with Westbrook, but I feel like that's just he's not deserving either. I mean, he's got the numbers, but
no,
I mean, I'll leave that.
No.
I'm going with the guy who I feel like should have been in. I feel like he's a perfect counterpart to a guy that's starting on Gary's team right now, and he's on the same squad with him, and that's Jalen Brown. I mean, I feel like, I mean, he is coming off a dunk. Was it last night where he put who did he put on the poster last night? It was. I mean, Jalen Brown, just as deserving as Tatum and just as deserving as a lot of these guys on the list, maybe even over a guy like Middleton, but I'm not going to rain on Middleton's parade. But, he puts up very similar numbers. He's scoring, last I checked, was about 24 a game. I mean, why is he not in there again? So we got to really have a conversation. So, I'm going with Jalen Brown.
Jalen Brown, a really solid pick. And Gary, he takes Jason Tatum's teammate right there to play on the other side. So what does that mean for your team? Because now that's a really solid pick, someone that could have very easily been in this all-star game. I thought it was really solid. What does your team need right now, Gary, and how does the player that you're taking sort of fit into that?
Well, this player, and I'll be quite honest with you, should have, if he played a little bit more of the season, made the All-Star team. He's playing pretty good right now. There's a lot of players on his team that aren't quite playing right now. I mean, this team specifically has had a lot of injuries this season. I'm going to go with a guy who can guard 1 through 5, is a rebounding beast, 2-time all-defensive player. He's a 1-time All-Star. I believe he got snubbed last season coming off a down year. I got to go with Idris Femi Bam Adebayo, 6'9", 255. I mean, he can guard all 5 positions. I got to go with my homer pick. I can't not have a guy on the Heat from this team, and you can justify it. He is the second best player on the first seed in the Eastern Conference, and while he hasn't played the amount of games this season, only 29, he is still a defensive monster, and I can put him on anybody on Isaiah's team, and I can be pretty happy with the results I'm going to get from that. He can guard 1 through 5, like I said earlier. He is quite possibly a future defensive player of the year in this league if he can stay healthy. I got to go with Bam Adebayo, and I think that's an easy pick for me. My other options, of course, I had a couple of guys I was looking at. I had the stat guys and off camera looking at some stuff.
Yeah, who do you have?
Just a couple of names to throw out there. I was thinking, of course, Paul George, but he's hurt. He's not coming back the rest of the season. You got Jared Allen, who is honestly a pretty deserving All-Star this year.
That was my second guy.
I was pretty consistently thinking like he'll probably pick Jared Allen, so I got to go with a bigger guy for this one. He was a guy that I was looking at. You got Pascal Siakam, who might not be having the best season at the beginning of the year, but has picked it up in the last month. Of course, I think he's hurt right now. Only a small injury, so I don't think he would be technically considered out for this kind of draft. But Bradley Beal is another guy who can score. But I've got too many guards in this team. I got to go with Bam Adebayo.
What I'm surprised by, and I'll say this as someone who's given my Lakers a hard time, I'm surprised neither one of you guys took my boy Anthony Davis, the only player that I really like in the Lakers is the best player.
That's why I was so bummed out, because I didn't know if we should take, because the time he's missed. I thought that's who Gary was gonna take. That's why I was like, oh no. And he said,
I could have.
Okay.
Honestly thinking back on it, he could have possibly been named to an All-Star team this year if the Lakers weren't like 9th in the West. He probably would have had a little bit more consideration. I know the joke Anthony Davis is there. He doesn't play every game, but since coming back for the Lakers, since being healthy, he's actually started playing center, which is something that Anthony Davis probably 3 years ago didn't even think he'd be able to do or didn't even want to do. But yeah, Anthony Davis definitely deserved it. I probably would have taken him next if given a second pick. But of course, that's not how these work. You have to pick and somebody's going to get snubbed. And unfortunately, that's Anthony Davis, who in his own right should have probably been named to this All-Star team in general. But I can't miss passing up on my guy, Bam Adebayo. I'm wearing all this Heat stuff. I got a Heat hat. I got a Heat jacket. I think I'm not going to pick a guy in the Heat. You already took Jimmy Butler. I mean, what am I going to do? I look like a fraud. My whole family's watching, and they're going to be sad.
That's what it was. It was the trap right there. How did they get him to take? How they want to take Davis?
I'm still happy with my pick. He might not score, but he plays defense, and that's what I need because I got so many freaking guards.
Yeah,
goodness.
I feel like the guards there's so many guards. I don't know whether the NBA needs to look at maybe electing a certain amount of like front court versus back court players when it comes to the reserves. I know they do that for the actual starters themselves, but another player that could have easily been chosen would have been Alexander over in Oklahoma City. Yeah, but the thing is, there's way too many guards for either one of you to say, okay, well, I'm going to take another guard with a bonus player. Isaiah, of course, going with more of a forward over with Jalen Brown, and Gary going with a big man that he desperately needed with Bam Adebayo.
Brandon Ingram is another one too.
Brandon Ingram
on this list. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a ton of guys.
What about this guy? Let's just play that game for the next 30 minutes. What about this guy?
I got one for you. My next pick,
not RJ.
No, stop.
It would have been Barrett of RJ. Yes,
no, cut him off before it shuts the talk. Guys, welcome. This has been a great show. TheAthletesHub.org. Free baseball, false nine, all that. Have a good day.
Dev took the scare with RJ going off for 36 points. You saw him in that first quarter. You saw how he is. Not this year, but next year. I'm calling
next year. Did the Lakers win that game?
Who cares?
I was going to say that was an OT Lakers win right there. But yeah, listen, guys, we're going to definitely throw these up on social media. We're going to let the people decide. I'm very anxious to see how the results go, whether it's going to be heavy one way or the other. I think this is a very even matchup overall. So we'll get working on that. Aside from that, this has been a great show. The next show that we end up doing will be next week, and that'll be our 12th show. If you're not checking us out, make sure you're checking out all of our other programs. We got the False Nine taking place on Thursdays. We also have Free Baseball, which came right before this. They did a great job there today with Jake and Davis. Be sure to check out all of our partners, all of our content at theathleteshub.org. And with that, we'll see you guys in the next week.
Goodbye. And, Cavs got better with Karis LeVert. Let's just say that.